Hi, welcome to a shorter and a little less formal version of the OnFilm on video column this week. This is Philip Martin, and my dogs are downstairs. They didn't want to come up. Audie's a little bit nervous because we've got some weather, and I don't want to disturb her and bring her up here in case there's a thunderclap or something. So we're going to go solo this week, and we're going to hit some things real quick. Couple of things I want to talk about. First of all, you've maybe noticed the new movies column that is running in our section. We're going to continue this at least through September, and maybe we'll keep it after that. But basically, it's just a rundown of the new movies that are opening either in theaters or on Netflix or Amazon Prime. I don't expect it will be totally inclusive and definitive. I don't think we'll have everything, every option listed that you could see, but we're going to try to do it to just give you an idea of what's opening in the theaters and maybe some other things that you can watch this weekend. Okay, it is replacing the old new movies list, at least for the time being, because I don't have the resources right now to actually run down all the theaters and find out exactly what they're playing. I think we can do a pretty good job of that, but I don't want it to be like, this is the list and then miss something. I always, I don't like adding opportunities to introduce error into the newspaper. I would much rather tell you what we know and let you find out on your own. If we don't know, you can check the listings. You can go to the internet. It used to be in the old days, I keep saying, in the old days, theaters would buy ads and they would list the movies that were playing and the times they were playing and sometimes how much a ticket cost. They don't do that anymore, and I can understand why. Everything's changed, but we've never done that. It's a nice service, but it's also very hard to call every theater in Arkansas and get a time for every motion picture that's opening. And we long ago gave up on trying to do that. But we will try to make you aware of what is opening someplace. And then it's up to you to find out where. And it's up to the theaters to let you know where, so you can buy their tickets and make them rich. We're just in the information business, that's all. I don't care about anybody getting rich. The other thing I want to talk about, and this is something I would have written a column about if, it worked out. Piers Marchant is once again attending the Toronto Film Festival for us this year, though I don't think that actually means going to Toronto and watching movies in the theater there. I think it's a virtual thing. But anyway, earlier, last week, we got a notice that he didn't get approved for, he didn't get a credential, which, on the face of it, it's pretty hard for me to understand because, number one, Toronto is a huge film festival, and they give out lots of credentials every year. When people come to theaters and actually sit there in the theaters and watch the movies, they call them press and industry screenings. I have been to hundreds of them, and they are well attended, and lots of people are there, and it's a finite space, It's like a theater, 200 people maybe could get in there. And maybe in the time of COVID, it goes down to 70 people, maybe less. Maybe 50 people could get into the theater, whatever. But anyway, the Toronto Film Festival this year is doing most, if not everything, digitally. They are, giving people links to see these movies. But they decided they had to give out way fewer of them. Now, I don't really understand the logic there. Maybe somebody could help me understand the logic. I really don't understand the logic because it seems to me like, you should be able to give more credentials because then I mean, you don't have a physical space anymore. You have a platform. You have people that are using their own bandwidth and stuff to get in there. And I imagine it may be a question of server capacity or something like that. But anyway, after covering the film festival for more than 20 years, because Karen and I used to go there in the 90s, we suddenly don't get a credential. Now, I've run into this before. I went to a screening in New York City of The Departed, actually. It was Martin Scorsese's The Departed. I don't know what year that was, but you can figure it out. And it's held in a big screening room downtown New York. And I get there, and you go up to the thing, and there's a young lady there that has a clipboard with a list. And, I go up there and I say, Philip Martin, and I'm with the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. And she looked at me like I was from Mars. She goes, Arkansas? Well, I don't know about that. And she found me on the list, let me in. Okay. That's fine. A lot of newspapers, even at the time The Departed came out, didn't send their critics to screenings in New York. I mean, there are a handful of newspapers would do that. Los Angeles, New York, obviously. Maybe someplace like Atlanta, Chicago, those places. But, Little Rock, Arkansas, no, we didn't do that. Except we did, We used to do stuff like that. And it used to surprise people. The only time it was really a bad surprise was at Palm Springs Film Festival, when someone just sort of, somebody connected with the festival actually just sort of said, well, what are you doing here? Arkansas. Ugh. They really did. It was sort of surprised. I'm still astounded by that. And I still, every time I get something from the Palm Springs Film Festival, I think about that. And we haven't been back. I can't say it's really because they were mean to us, but we just haven't been back to the Palm Springs Film Festival since. Okay. Anyway, we had a thing in Toronto in around 2003, 2004. We were going all the time. We were writing lots of stuff about it. We were doing everything. And they gave us 2 credentials. So we actually had 2 of us that could go see any of the movies that we wanted to see at the press and industry screenings. And it was like you're getting 2 free all-access passes, basically. Good passes. So we had them. We thought we were in. And the next year, they took one away from us. For reasons I still don't understand, and for reasons I still believe have to do with a certain, bias people in cultural centers like Toronto and New York and Los Angeles have about places like Little Rock, Arkansas, and Arkansas in general. Because I remember I went through a dialogue with these people, and I was asking them why they took them away from us, and they said, well, because you're not, it's your circulation numbers, that. And I'm saying that's not true. Our circulation numbers are bigger than A and B and C, and they've all got credentials, as many as they want, 3, 4. They're bigger than, these, nothing against bloggers, but, for a while, bloggers were getting everything, and, mainstream, outlets were having to scramble around trying to find a way because nobody knows how this stuff works. So for a while, the studios actually thought that newspapers didn't count. And I imagine that if I were in Toronto and I had been running the film festival, or I'd been running the media part of it and credentialing people, I would pay attention to who actually writes about the festival and who actually, covers it. Who actually writes about the stuff that they say they're going to write about. But if you don't do that, maybe a shorthand is that, I've heard of this city, I've heard of this city, I don't know where this place is, so let's not give these people credentials. That's reasonable. It's lazy. It's not equitable. It's not fair. But it happens, you know. So we didn't get a credential this year. And Piers was upset, as he should be. And I was upset, as I should be. And we both kind of wrote our little appeals. And I don't know what they told him, but I know what they told me. They told me, well, we're sorry, we're just not going to do it. We understand, we appreciate your position, but we're not going to do it. But then find out yesterday, they did it. So Piers has a credential, and he can do whatever you can do with the Toronto Film Festival this year, which is great, because we rely on that festival a lot, because we don't get screenings here, you know, and that's why we have Piers and we have Dan writing about things from Philadelphia and Kansas City, respectively. And we don't get links for everything, because there's still Warner Brothers and places like that still don't like to send these things out on links, and I understand that too. I mean, I really do. My interest in reviewing every film that opens has really gone down. I'm very happy writing about the films I write about and not writing about the films I don't write about. I don't know that I could give you a review of Tenet that is any better than the review we gave you. I mean, I think Piers is a great, critic. I think Dan's a great critic. I think Karen's a great critic. I don't really have much ego tied up in that. I don't. If I want to write about a review, and someone else wants to write about it, it's not like I'm going to pull rank and say it's mine. I'm going to, try to think about it. Try to think about who would be the right person to write about this particular movie. So, but I'm happy to have, Piers write about Tenet, and I'm happy to write about something like the Charlie Kaufman film that's showing up on Netflix this week. I'm thinking of Ending Things, because that is exactly the sort of movie, with all its weaknesses, that really hits my sweet spot, and I really like it. It's the kind of movie I think that I would probably make if I were capable of making movies. So, I'm happy writing about that. I don't need to write, 4 reviews a week like I used to. I don't need to be like a one-man band like Roger Ebert, the wonderful Roger Ebert, who, if it hadn't been for the Toronto Film Festival, I never would have got to know, did. I mean, I'm not carrying the section on my back. I'm not carrying the newspaper on my back like Roger did for all those years. So, I'm happy to have Piers go to Toronto. That's really the best outcome there could be. And I'm almost a little bit nervous about saying something like, they really don't get it. But they don't. They really don't get what we're doing. And I hope you guys do. I really do. I mean, it's sort of like, we've been doing this for 20 years now. And it's worked. It's worked. I mean, it's not an experiment anymore. We know this works. We have people who pay attention, who take us for granted, which is the real test. People take this movie section for granted. And you don't have people talking about changing it or making it different, or maybe not talking about the movies anymore and talking about, I don't know, reality TV. We went through that. We outlived that, I hope. But, we don't have anybody who's trying to, claw back that space in the newspaper for something else that they think is more relevant or more important. And there are things that are more relevant and more important, but that's the reason we have a lot of different pages in a newspaper, so you can put different stuff on there. So, I feel like we're pretty safe. We've got our Toronto thing. If Tribeca comes back, we've got our Tribeca connection. We've got Sundance. And we're starting to make headway with people like Netflix and Amazon Prime and Disney Plus, who gave us Mulan this week, so hey, we're good with that. Yeah. But that's what the new movies column is going to be. It's not going to be like this on film was when I was writing on film, which I'm not writing anymore when I'm talking it, uh, for better or for worse. But it's a way of just surveying the landscape, which will take the pressure off of us to try and run out there and review everything that opens. Because some weeks there's things that we're not going to get to or miss. And it'll open up the pages of our newspaper for things like the Larry Foley movie that Dan has written about this week. Because if we had to cover everything that was, possibly opening and stuff like that, we might not have room for a piece like that. And there's a lot of stuff that's going on locally in film. Now, as I've said many times, this is primarily a review-driven section. It's a critical section. It's about the movies and what they mean. It's not necessarily a lifestyle section, not necessarily a section that profiles people who make movies. There's a distinction there. But we do like to, showcase, we like to give you good stories to read. And when they're about local people who are doing things, that makes sense. It fits in here too. But it's not really our mandate. That's something you can also see in other parts of the newspaper. Well, anyway, I promised to make this shorter, so this is shorter. I promise that next time I do this, I will dress up a little better, but time is time. As Tenet reminds us, and as I'm thinking of ending things reminds us, time is just this idea that we've invented. But now that we've invented it, we have to obey that monster. Okay, so we'll see you next week, and I hope you have a good time at the movies if you choose to go. If you don't choose to go, there's plenty of other stuff to do. We'll see you later. Bye.